got a question for you.
Do it.
What do you think about Elon Musk wanting to buy Twitter?
If he takes Twitter and shoots it into space, that would be great. And that would be awesome. And then we wouldn't have to tweet anymore.
Right?
I literally don't know what that's about.
Right.
Why
I do.
he's doing that. Because Elon Musk wants to do everything and he can. So
He pretty much can.
go for it, dude.
Yeah.
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 I think what he said it's about is about the free speech aspect. And if he owned it, he would let people have free speech and not be canceling so many people for some things, yes. Some people are just evil. And some things that are said are getting canceled because they're just hurting somebody's little feelings.
Yeah.
That I understand that because it keeps people, like it's trying to say don't bully. So I get that. I get that point. But it's also like you can't say anything on that that's not to their liking anymore. Even if it's not bullying, it's just something they don't agree with.
Right.
And that's why people are getting canceled. So that's what Elon has said is his reason for making this $43 billion offer.
Right.
43 billion.
Because he's got that.
Yeah.
It's
in his back pocket usually.
It's my side project, 43 billion. What the hell?
It's nuts.
I have thoughts on that. I talk about, first of all, I teach 6th grade, so social media is, the research indicates that's the worst time for social media. It messes with kids' brains, especially young girls. And so I do lessons in class all the time about deconstructing what happens on social media. And it's really just a complicated version of sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me, except now names are killing us because people are talking all this shit to each other all the time. And it's more like one day I came in and I was really pissed off about the world and social media. And I was just like, guys, you have to stop reading the toilet bathroom walls. Stop it.
That's a good point.
I said, look at the comment stream. Pick one, pick any section. After any, let's pretend for a minute that a genuine comment gets written on a YouTube thing or on Twitter. And then follow, 6, 8, 10, 15, 20 comments later. If there's like 1,000 or 2,000, 10,000, a million people watching, it turns to crap. It turns to a bathroom wall instantaneously. And one day I'd come back and I was in the bathroom and at some bar or whatever, and I'm looking at the wall going, oh my God, it's exactly a Twitter feed. And it makes about as much sense, and it's about as useful. That's why I start with, if he sends it off into space and blows it up in the sun, we're all going to be better off.
Yeah.
And
Yes. And he might.
Yeah.
That's another reason he might want to buy it, to end it.
Yeah, how do you, at this point though, when I'm teaching, because I think about it pedagogically for the kids, we're not going to get rid of it. And maybe we shouldn't. It's been a development for all of us. Look at us right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and so it's not about, it's the same solution that we've had for thousands of years, which is educate. We have to teach them how to discriminate the good and the bad, which speaks to the free speech issue. Say what you want, but I'm also allowed to call you on that and go, no, that's not right. So you need more speech. That's the typical thing you hear.
Yeah.
It's not less speech or not limiting speech. It's more speech is the cure. But it's also more thought behind your speaking. Don't fucking speak until you've thought about it a while.
Yeah.
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 If I see something that upsets me, I stop and I wait before I tweet. I've never tweeted though.
You've never tweeted.
I mean, my God, just calling it tweeting derides the entire experience. It's like, I can't tweet something cogent. One does not tweet smart things. In my mind, but people love Twitter. I listen to podcasts. All they do is they examine what happened. Oh, on Twitter, you got to have this, and news reporters all have to have Twitter now. And I'm like, I'm not sure it's the right way forward. It doesn't enliven my mind.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's for, other than
bitching, just pissing and moaning and bitching.
Pissing, mostly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some things happen, and I'm sure some third world country has been absolutely saved by Twitter and Facebook.
Right, sure.
Because they've been able to organize movements that have saved workers and done amazing things, but that's not the reality that those of us that live in the Western world live in. And that's not even what anybody in the West, in the Twitter world, the Twitter sphere they call it, right? The Twitter's out there in the Twitter sphere. I'm just like, I'm not sure who it's for. It's for each other. It's a mutual admiration society. And I I don't know.
Or a mutual hate
I'd rather
society.
go cry in the dark than participate in that.
I'd rather go cry in the dark.
And I do sometimes. But that's okay.
And that's okay, Brent.
Better than tweeting.
Yeah. Oh, I had a question, but I can't remember. We'll go on. When it comes to you're teaching junior high or middle school or whatever you want to call it, and you are. Not only is it the worst age for like social media these days, it's just the worst age.
Worst age? You know why?
Because, and I say worst. I shouldn't say worst. I should say it's the most transitional age because you're becoming an adolescent from being a child, and you've got all these crazy hormones going on, and everything happens. All these changes happen, and it's a drastic change to some kids. And I've heard so many people say junior high was the worst time of my life.
Right.
Next to bad relationships. But it's such a big change, and everybody needs approval and wants approval. And so now with social media, back in the day, before internet and all this, you know, kids would tease each other. There's bullying. It was there, but it was local, and it was very few people. Now on social media, you might have 100 people calling you names. And that's overwhelming, I would think, to youngsters.
Right.
And then in junior high, when you're trying to be accepted and you're dealing with all these changes, and you're dealing with all these changes, then that adds to all of that. And I think that's the problem with why social media is so bad these days, because those years were always so tough on children, I think.
I think there's a mind exploding, 4,000 thoughts in my head, so bear with me. The problem is the focus is on the outside, because everything we've just complained about and discussed, and everything that gets discussed in the groups in school where the teachers meet and they talk about how to fix everything, it's all focused on what's going on. Oh, so-and-so said this about so-and-so, and they did this, and we're all focusing on the bullies, or we're all focusing on the people with the voices, and we're not properly. We just talk about it, but we're not properly strengthening the victims. And bear with me for a minute. We're going to detour into my earlier teaching career, which was kindergarten, which is where the real juice is. I spent 10 years teaching 5-year-olds, and that's really where you get used to this idea of you ignore the bullies and you strengthen the victim. And when you do that, there's no one left to bully, right? And so in the social media realm that you're discussing, middle school, what does that mean, and what does it look like? It's teaching. I'm not going to say the word critical thinking because it's so meaningless at this point. But it is the ability to think and to analyze and to not just take on oneself that which is said to you. When someone says or writes then just go, oh, I don't really, be curious, ask them, talk, or just let it bounce off of you. Let it roll past. There needs to be health class, like internet hygiene, meaning how do I take a shower? How do I wash this off me? I have to participate in it. I have to use it. I have a project I want to do. How do I keep myself clean? How do I not be contaminated by it, yet participate in it? And that's not a modern problem. That issue has been raised by very many people throughout the ages. And, and in many different books, you can find evidence of how do I live and purify myself? How do I stay clean? How do I, and you can find this in a lot of literature. And this is what's missing whenever my school meets to discuss these things. We support the victims by pandering to their needs in a way. Oh my God, this might be dangerous. Oopsie. But I'm just saying. I think that the focus is wrong, and I spend the time in my class building the social connections within us in person, and then teaching people how to resist the pressures by creating. And this goes back into the idea of martial arts, creating a dojo for them. And what is a dojo? It's a place it's a safe space to have fights. Why are we having a fight in a safe space? Yeah, to practice, so we don't hurt one another, because it's not about hurting one another. It's about getting stronger, so I can go out in the real world and do something, or and in martial arts, defend myself. Yes, how do I go on the internet and defend myself? Right. And go to any cliche martial art movies you want, Karate Kid. it's on the inside. It's a cliche, but it's about understanding that it's not really. It's about avoiding the fight. Why get there? Why is that your first choice? Go. There's other things, and I think there's a training that's missing for children about how to interact with that. So what we do is, no, we're going to ban mobile phones. Like that's going to work.
Right.
We banned mobile scones.
Mobile scone. I would like to have a
Those
mobile
two.
scone, please.
I've got mobile scones.
May I please have a mobile scone?
Mobile scone. No, you ban mobile phones, and then so you start taking them away, and what starts to happen? Well, my friend Matt, he took a mobile phone from a girl. He took it. She pulled out her spare. We were 2 months into the policy, and kids started carrying spare phones.
God.
Now, that has a whole world of problems around it. But then they work around it. They go this way. And it destroys our relationships with the kids because now we're always picking on them. Now we're policemen instead of teachers. We're policing a situation. Now, policing is often necessary and part of our job. That's not, that's not. But it's when it's always that, you're not going to solve the problem by taking away the tool.
Right.
It's not going to happen. We should educate on how to use it better.
Absolutely.
And I think, and then the rest of this conversation that could take 24 hours is how to do that.
Yeah.
Tune in live every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central.
On the Unsung Screamers Facebook page, YouTube channel, and Twitter.
And check out our Unsung Screamers podcast.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Ah!